The Seated View. I'm Lena Anderson, and today I'm going to talk about what to do when your RA or chronic illness makes you feel stuck. Like when what's happening with that kind of has you in a place where you don't want to be. Um, I'm going to be sharing a 5 step process that I've sort of developed organically over the years rather to help you get unstuck. And bonus, the same system can be used for any place where you want to move away from. Where do you feel stuck? Let me know in the comments, and if you want, we can maybe try to work out a plan together. I should warn you, big pain day, which means I'm on big drugs. So focus. What's that? Oh, look, something shiny. So we'll just see how it goes. Bear with me if I'm a little scattered today and start babbling because, ow, I those moments I had to go to the dentist yesterday to get prepped for a crown, which meant I sat at the dentist with my mouth open for about an hour and a half, and this jaw is not happy. I love that part where you start talking, like it's eating, it's moving, it's it pulls up and pulls down, and just talking makes you hurt. It's are in the jaw is one of the most disruptive things. Like, not that any kind of RA is fun, but your jaw just somehow messes with everything. You know what I mean? Anyway, say hi in the comments if you're out there. And if you're watching after I was live, say hi and I'll go chat. And look at me, I wasted 2 minutes on basically. I went off to something shiny. Where do you feel stuck? This is where we're at. So, obviously, we all feel stuck sometime because life is like that. But when you have a chronic illness, it can sometimes feel like you're stuck all the time in every aspect of your world because when you're not in control of about how I can't talk. When you're not in control of how you feel in a couple of hours tomorrow or February the 5th, it can make it really hard to follow a plan. And if you're in a situation where that's been going on for a really long time, you might get to a point where you stop making plans at all. I know I did. Years ago, after what I call my big flare, so that was 2020, 2004. That's how you say it because it shifted from 2004. Now we're in 2023. It's very confusing for my little brain. Um, but I had a very, very big flare that basically ate my life, and I finally found a medication that worked. And it took me a long time to get better. And during that time, I didn't plan much more than a few days ahead because that very long period of RA eating my life, it was a couple of years of gradual deterioration and then 8 months of down in the toilet. Um, Planning more than like I was so used to not being able to plan at all that now that I felt better, I didn't take it for granted. It was very much living one day at a time, which I think we often do. It's like, well, I feel decent today, I'll live today. I feel shit. Sorry, I feel like crap tomorrow. Or you wake up the next day, you feel like crap, so you live through it. So your focus narrows to just what's right in front of you. And I still remember the day when I realized I'd finally adjusted to and my RA actually being suppressed. And it was a day when my partner and I ordered tickets for an opera that was like 6 months into the future. Um, but no one ever tells you that RA can mess with your life that much, not only in terms of how you feel today, but how it changes the way you approach your life. So you kind of stop making plans. Um, and when you do it, when you reach that point, it means you kind of lost hope that anything will change um, and become immobilized by your illness. And that's one of the that's like being stuck in cement or feeling like it. But of course, it doesn't have to be quite that bad in order to feel that you're stuck. So, um, and I really highly recommend that you ask for help from your doctors, from or like start thinking about the plan that we're going to talk about today before you get the stuck in cement kind of type. Like this is almost fossilized. I'm metaphoring right, left, and center here, but because the more stuck you are, the longer and more work it takes to get unstuck. So, keeping kind of a view on how you feel and listening to your body and finding out how long a flare lasts and then taking action before you get thoroughly stuck is always a good idea. So, today I'm going to share this 5-step process that I use whenever I feel like I'm stuck or I hit a dead end or get sidetracked from my goal, um, and kind of to where and what I want. I'm going to talk specifically in connection to chronic illness because that's relevant to most of the people in the community I'm in. But like I said, you can probably use this system for any area of your life. Um, so there's a fair amount of thinking involved in this process, and on and off. And as ever, I recommend that you get yourself a very pretty, beautiful notebook and a lovely pen and start writing things down on and off um, as you're going through each step, because it helps to write things down to review later, or even just to get it out of your system. Um, but once it's written down, you can consolidate the information. There are things you might otherwise forget. You can, like, writing things down can help you clarify how you think and feel about something. And it's something that you can then share with the people you involve in helping you. But did you know you're also more likely to remember things when you write them down? There's something about the act of handwriting that helps you remember things more. Now, obviously, if you have trouble writing, as do I, um, you may want to, write the main points down, and type the rest or dictate the rest. And if you can't handwrite at all, then dictate, type, whatever. It all counts, but it makes it a little easier to remember if you're writing with your like handwriting. But either way, there are other ways to make up for that. Like you can type or dictate, and then read and review a few extra times just to make sure it's part of your ongoing thinking. Do you journal? Would you be interested in a Facebook live Facebook Live on journaling and the benefits to chronic illness? Is there any other topic you'd like to see? Let me know in the comments and I'll put it to my list. So let's take a look at step one. Step one is, what is the problem? You can't get unstuck if you don't know that you are stuck and where you're stuck. So when you have an RA, if you have RA, an increase in inflammation like a flare or a general increase in inflammation is often the underlying problem. But it can also be the effects of chronic inflammation, or, for instance, if you have found a medication that works for you, the permanent damage that was happening in your joint can also leave you stuck in a way that it limits your life or what you want to do. So you sometimes we assume it's RA, that is the foundational aspects to every problem in our lives, but it isn't always. So it's worth spending some time thinking about this. And I think it's not always easy to identify what's at the bottom of it all. It's a little like peeling an onion. You peel it by layer and just gradually move down. Like I have an example here, for instance. Say you feel isolated And that's where you feel stuck. So why? So you ask yourself, why do you feel isolated? And let's say, just go with the example here because it's a common one, unfortunately. You don't really see your friends that much anymore. Don't talk to them. And why did that happen? Well, things sort of just faded away. Could be the pandemic, could be. But maybe it was because you had to cancel a lot because you weren't feeling well. So it feels like they stopped calling. Or you may also ask yourself the hard question of, did you stop calling as well? Did you reach a point where it just felt like, well, there's no point in making plans because I cancel all the time anyway. So you just gave up and didn't call them. And so why did that happen? Right? Um, and then you look at why did you stop? Why did you have to cancel? Because you're exhausted and hurting. And then you think about, well, why were you exhausted and hurting? And are you still? And that usually, say that's one of those examples where RA is at the bottom. So depending on the energy level, you may want to choose like deal with one issue at a time, like feeling isolated versus hurting. But I think coming back from a place where your RA isn't controlled the way it should be, then you basically, if you're only dealing with one, then you're kind of dooming yourself to feeling isolated for a good while longer. So in this particular example, something like this, I'd recommend that you do both at the same time. And it goes, for me, it goes like this: is like if you're dealing with your RA at first, like that's issue one. Issue two is your friends, right? And one of my favorite examples is that there are many ways to have friendships and adapt, and maybe putting a little of your energy into adapting how your friends with the people in your life can be something that might make you feel less isolated. And so my example is, for instance, dinner with the friends. There's many ways to do that. You can go out to a restaurant, or you can have takeout at your house so you don't have to leave the house. Or you can each, if you're feeling really crappy, you can each have dinner at your own place, but do it while you're chatting over Zoom or FaceTime, right? So losing touch with your friends there are many reasons. But assuming that the friendship is solid and this is one of those things that just sort of faded away, then paying a bit of attention to that and kind of checking back in with your friends and finding different ways to be in touch may help you feel more motivated to keep pushing forward on the other stuckness, right? I also recommend that you take some time to pay attention to your feelings through journaling, to let them out. It's really important to express and process your feelings, because otherwise they just kind of fester and that's no fun. Have you been ignoring your feelings about certain things? Feel free to rant in the comments if you need, and you feel comfortable to do so in public. So let's move on to step number 2. Once you have become clear on the problem, you need to find a way to make it visible. And this is thing it's called operationalizing your concept. Like when scientists have a theory, like, X causes Y, they have to test it. And by testing it, you have to make it operational, basically, right? So, for instance, if you have a theory that journaling helps your mental health, which there are many studies that show this, but it's basically, that's the theory, but how do you make that testable? You have to decide what population you want to test it on, what kind of journaling, how often and how long should the people participating in your study journal. And by taking things apart and making them visible and measurable, you have a more accurate test. And by doing the same thing in your stuckness problem, you have to figure out where you're stuck, how does it affect your life? For instance, let's say the problem is you feel like you have lost your ability to live your life because your inflammation is out of control. Um, so one way to make that visible and get a really clear image of how it affects you in your life is to start tracking your symptoms, like on a symptom tracker app, in a journal, in your planner, whatever. Taking pictures of swollen joints, writing down how your inflammation being out of control, how it affects your life. For instance, you don't see your friends, you can't leave your house, you cry in the shower every morning. I've been there. I don't get enough sleep because pain wakes me up. That's how you operationalize it. And that makes it visible to the resources we involve. And that's step 4. So I'm getting ahead of myself, right? But finding a way to show exactly how that stuck. I feel stuck here. That's kind of vague, but what is it that prevents you from doing? What is it you want to do? Because we're going to get to the goal next. But first, like, if you're out there watching, tell me how some of like the problem that you feel stuck in, how it affects your life. What are some of the things that you want to do and you can't? Step 3, what is your goal? Now you have a good idea what your problem is, how it expresses yourself. Then you set a goal that is actionable, right? You know, that you want to, do I have something? Because big goals tend to be vague, and I've talked about this before. Like, I want to feel better. Well, that's pretty vague. What does better mean? What do you want to do once you feel better? Something you can work towards can break into smaller bites. We'll talk about that in a bit. This will help you know 2 reasons. It'll help you know when you feel better. You know, if you have a smaller goal, like if your big goal is like, oh, and actually, I'm going to get something. I'm not going to get ahead of myself now. I'm going to get to that in a bit. And you probably heard of SMART goals, which is operationalizing your goal. It's specific. For instance, let's say your goal is, I want to go on vacation in 6 months without it wrecking my health. So that's your big goal. Now, the M stands for measurable. What do you want to be able to do? Like, what wrecks your health when you go on vacation? And for instance, it could be all the sightseeing is hard because you can't walk very far. And if you walk for one day, it wrecks you the next day. So then your measurable goal was, I want to be able to walk several kilometers a day for a week, because that's enjoying, that would be you going on vacation and then not getting wrecked afterwards. You have to make them attainable. Is this a goal you can reach? Like, if you're somebody like me, I'm a permanent wheelchair user. This would not be attainable for me, right? And obviously, is it attainable? It's not exactly within your control because you do have a chronic illness that's unpredictable. But if you think it's feasible, it should be feasible, then work towards it. And this is a good question where, many of us will kind of say, but what if it didn't work? And I try to switch it to, but what if it does? Right? So you kind of have to have that hope that you will get there, right? In the SMART goals, it should be relevant. Is your goal something that will motivate you to keep pushing forward? Is your goal relevant to the life you want to have and the life you have now? And the last is timely. Do you have an idea when you want to reach your goal? In this example, it would be in 6 months, right? And the next step, like, obviously your goal can be anything. Maybe you want to start a family. Maybe you want to move to a condo instead of a house. You want to get a degree. My goal is I want to get to a point where I can write a book every year. And my energy level hasn't been able to do that for a while. If you want to check out the post in the link, and I am multi-streaming, so I have to get specific here. On Facebook, it's in the post for this video, and on YouTube, because I have a YouTube channel I'm trying to make more of. On YouTube, the post is in the description box. Um, it's a story of a failed manuscript and kind of me getting back on track with my goal to write more books. So you can read that. So when you have your goal, you need to figure out how to get there. And if you're up for it, share your goal in the comments. So step 4 is, what resources do you need to reach your goal? This could be, well, no person is an island, as John Donne said several hundred years ago. Chances are you're going to need resources, people, information, etc., to help you achieve your goal. So information and motivation. And here, at this exact moment, it shows by fuzziness, I was going to hold up my book, Your Life with Rheumatoid Arthritis: Tools for Managing Treatment, Side Effects, and Pain. And I was going to hold that up. So please assume I'm holding it up because I didn't bring it because I'm fuzzy today. But if you click on the link, you'll come to my website, and there's a books section that you can check out. That has lots of information about treatment, side effects, and pain, and how to manage that. If your problem goal are related to your RA, if your problem is related to RA and you're achieving your goal is dependent on your RA behaving, then your rheumatologist is an important resource for you and should be on your team in this. And it's also okay if you don't yet know what resources you need, because sometimes knowing that is part of getting started. So who can help you determine the resources? Do you think it's medical? Then talk to your family doctor. Your rheumatologist do you need resources on how to live better with RA? Then one of your resources might be me, or an RA website or a book, and so on, right? So ask someone, I have this problem, what resources could help me? If you're really depressed and your coping skills have kind of gone downhill, then who you might need is a social worker or a therapist. So what are some of the resources you think you would need? And step 5, we're finally there, is to make a plan. Now you have everything you need to make a plan, and you have a notebook that has all the information that can help you make that plan. And this is but before you get going, this is where I would put it all away for about a week, because sometimes you need your brain to kind of chew on something before you can get really, really going, and kind of, basically just let the process simmer. Hang on, I got hair in my eye. And then when you go back, always remember that it took time to get stuck. So getting unstuck will also take time. Be patient with yourself. Be gentle. Most of us don't have a fairy godmother to wave a magic wand and go bam, you're all better. It takes time, which is not bad because you can adjust and tweak and all that thing, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's why you break your goal into those small, easily attainable mini goals, and make sure you follow the SMART goal formula all the way through. When you set small, attainable, measurable goals, you give yourself a recipe for success. For instance, I recently found out that the reason that I had been so exhausted and had so much brain fog for a good 8 months is because I have vitamin D deficiency. In the words of my naturopath, my levels are crazy low. So I know there's a physical reason why I have been really wrecked. And I know that even if, I've just basically gone like that. And I'm all the way down here in terms of energy and ability to think and just stamina. So yes, I want to write a book this year, but I also I also know that if I start right now at the schedule I want to get to, I will I will wreck myself again. So for me, January is about slowly doing a little more and a little more and push myself just enough to build stamina, but not so much that I wreck myself. So, yes, and you can learn more about my writing process on that link. So January is about building stamina, and then we'll see what February is about. Maybe I'm ready to write then, maybe I'm not. We'll see. Another benefit of these small attainable goals, you give yourself frequent opportunity to celebrate how awesome you are, because you are working um, at getting better. If you get sidetracked, you get back on a horse that threw you. And so you are awesome. This is hard. Creating a life with rheumatoid arthritis, any type of chronic illness is hard. So congratulations for being committed to do that. Um, just remember, if something swipes you off the main track, take a deep breath, get back on track. We'd like to think that recovery or moving forward is linear, and it never is for anybody. Like, instead of going like this, the journey is more like this, right? But as long as the general movement over time is forward, you're good to go. Anyway, when's the last time you celebrated yourself? I'd love to hear why and how you celebrated. Just a reminder again, if you have any questions, the comments area is all available to you. And if there's anything you want to specifically ask me to talk about for my next live, drop it down there as well. Thank you so much.